This company actually is not as shitty as you think. I will
Good.
say that much. It was kind of refreshing that I didn't have to read anything about Nazis. I didn't have to read anything about environmental disaster. That was lovely for me.
How refreshing. How refreshing. Welcome back to Sillage and Sorcery, a podcast where perfume and magic intertwine. I'm B. Sampson of Venus Invictus, and I'm joined here by...
Melissa Sifjardóttir from Sif Sniffs.
And today we are journeying deep into a smoky, mystical world of Myrrh and Opoponax, two of the most sacred resins in history.
Some of my favorites. I love Opoponax.
I call it Opoponax, but there was a certain point in time because we used to sell it at our wood shop in Brooklyn, and the typo was poop sacks, and we left it.
It's fair.
Poop
I
sacks.
think that was a different episode, though. Poop sacks.
Poop sacks.
I feel like that was when we first started. We were doing the poop sacks.
So, for those of you that don't know, these ancient or aromatic resins have been burned in temples. They've been carried by kings, woven into spells for millennia. But they're also powerhouse materials in modern perfumery, lending depth, warmth, and almost an otherworldly aura to fragrances. So, let's just dive in. Let's kind of clarify what we're talking about. So, myrrh comes from Camphora myrrha. It's a resin harvested from a thorny tree in the dry lands of Somalia, Yemen, and Ethiopia. Its name comes from the Arabic word myrrh, M-U-R-R, meaning bitter, which is a nod to its sharp medicinal aroma. And Opoponax, also known as Camphora guidioti, sometimes the folk name for it is sweet myrrh. That's kind of like why I think we decided to do, let's do myrrh and Opoponax together, because one's called sweet myrrh. They're both from the same type of tree. They're both used in perfumery. So it's a close cousin, but it has a honey-eyed balsamic profile. And the name comes from opos, Greek, meaning juice, and ponax, which means panacea, referring to its ancient use as a healing remedy. Both are oleo resins, meaning they ooze from the bark as a sticky sap that hardens into tear-shaped nuggets. These tears are either burned and used as incense or distilled into essential oils, tinctured for perfumery, or sometimes we'll even do like a solvent extract of these resins, and then you can get that for use in perfumery. So these resins weren't just aromatics, by the way. They were also divine gifts. Okay. They were used in medicine, ritual tools. In the Hebrew Bible and temple rites, myrrh was a core ingredient in ketoret, which is a sacred incense in Jerusalem's first and second temples. Exodus 30 details its use in holy anointing oil, blending 500 shekels of liquid myrrh with cinnamon and cassia, which sounds so lovely. I'm like, maybe I'll go make some myself.
Also, as a Hecate bitch, myrrh is associated with Hecate.
Love that.
In particular, which is why I thought it was so interesting when you said it came from a lot of places in North Africa, because one of the aspects of Hecate is that she is this like really old goddess, and Courtney Weber actually has a really good book on Hecate.
Yes, she does.
We don't 100% know her origins. We just know that she's like, even at the time of the Greeks, already like an old goddess.
Yeah, a primordial goddess. Yeah.
And worshipped all over the Mediterranean. So I do think like it's kind of interesting that even something she's associated with is not from close by, and really speaks to kind of the lore of Hecate and how she kind of was all over. And I love that about her.
I love that book. Also, shout out to Courtney Weber. She's got an amazing podcast. If you haven't listened, it's called That Witch Life. Give it a listen, give it a follow, check out her books. She's amazing. Also, so for like purification and royalty, Esther 2:12 says women underwent a 6-month beauty ritual with oil of myrrh before meeting King Ahasuerus. It symbolized both purification and status. Can you imagine doing a fucking long, like month-long ritual of anointing yourself with oil of myrrh? Months.
Is it like every day? Like what, the whole entire time you're just anointing yourself with myrrh? Or is it like for an hour every day you anoint yourself with Myrrh, because like I know my beauty care routine is long.
think it's like a once daily thing for like months on end. I guess it's not that crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's doable. I feel like if it was all I did for a month, then that's problematic.
Everything that I know about resins, though, is that they're so sticky. So just like in ancient times, like putting oil all over your face and then like a dust cloud like goes by and you're just covered in dust now.
And that's why you have to like prepare, and it's all about cleansing and like making sure, because if you're not doing dick for the rest of the day,
True.
that's
Um,
why.
and in Egypt, Queen Hasdefut, she ordered there be myrrh trees planted around the temple of Ammon, ensuring the god's eternal favor in the afterlife. So cool. And Opoponax healing power, it was used in traditional medicine for digestive issues, respiratory ailments, and skin conditions, which I love. I love ancient medicine being translated to perfumery. I think that's so cool. And that's part of like why I love what I do with like tying these myths in with scent. It makes me so happy.
It also speaks to that, like how we look at the wise woman and like the witch of the town hundreds of years ago, is that they were all these like intelligent women who could help you not only heal your heart but also heal your body.
Yes. And here's a fun fact. The three kings gifted myrrh to the infant Jesus. I'm sure you've heard this, symbolizing mortality, while gold and frankincense represented kingship and divinity. So, what makes them smell so good? Let's geek out a little bit on why these resins smell the way that they do. Myrrh's key molecules, and I'm probably going to butcher these because I'm not a chemist by trade. Fura odissima -1, 3-diene gives myrrh its bitter, medicinal, slightly smoky edge. Arsenine adds a leather animalic depth, which is why sometimes myrrh smells kind of like an old library. Distrine contributes to its cooling camphorous quality, which I gotta say, myrrh, if you haven't used it in any type of like meditation, like incense, it's fantastic for that. It's that cooling. Let's talk a little bit about Opoponax key molecules. So it has isoeugenol, which brings a warm clove-like spice to it. There is vanillin in Opoponax, which is why it smells sweeter than myrrh, and bisabolol, which is primarily found in German chamomile, but it's also found in Opoponax. It's a chemical that adds like a creamy, honey-eyed softness to it, which is so fun. And a little side note, true Opoponax crimonium, was historically used as medicine, but in modern perfumery, it's often called perfumer's Opoponax because of the bisabol. It's a sweeter resin from the tree that we're talking about. And this mix up dates to like the early of 20th century where you see Opoponax in perfumes. It's likely just the visible. So yeah, there was this whole, when I was doing my research, there was this whole thing of like people saying, oh, like the FDA once said that aquaponics couldn't be used in perfumery, but like the total misconception. It was just that like the there's aquaponics for the resin and there's aquaponics for like a plant, and like one is okay for perfumery and the other one was used in medicine. So there's a little conflation there. That's all I got for these resins because they're old as shit. And so we don't have anything for like their discovery because there's not one single person attributed to the discovery of these resins.
Do you have any fragrances? I know you have stuff with Myrrh in it, but do you have anything with the Opoponax?
I do. I have aquaponics in a few perfumes, one of which is an oil perfume, Stygian Oath. I love it. It smells so good. That one is mostly aquaponics, which is like a little bit of citrus, a little bit of lavender. But yeah, so resin scent. Do you use aquaponics in anything that you make?
Yeah, Sigyn's Heart has a Opoponax. Sigyn's Heart has that in it, and I really like having it as a base because I feel like for Sigyn's Heart, I wanted it to be really classic, but have like a interesting little like tweak, which is what I use for lemon and also what I use for raspberry. So like the fruit aspect of Sigyn's Heart makes it like a little bit different, but I wanted that like kind of classic overall scent, and that's why I used that as the base.
Nice.
Nothing with Myrrh yet though, but that may change. No hints.
I do want to, before we move on, before I hand it over to you, I do want to just like, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but both of these, Myrrh and Opoponax, are both fixatives in perfumery. So it's something that's going to help your scent. It's a good base, it's a good anchor. It helps your scent last longer, adds to the dry down. Yeah, wonderful ingredients. So,
We're going to talk about dry down with the
ooh,
perfume of this week. So that is actually a really great transition for you to hand it over to me.
perfect.
I'm going to show you a bottle. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh man.
Look at her. That's
Look at her. For those of you who
gorgeous.
are listening to audio only, I am holding up a bottle of the classic Shalimar from the 1920s. This is not a one from the 20s. It's just a bottle from it. But the bottle stayed the same for the most
Wow.
part, like the shape wise, and we'll talk about why. So this week we're talking about Guerlaine's Shalimar. One of the things I think is interesting is that this perfume, much like Chanel number 5, is still getting voted as some of the best perfumes of all time. And there's a lot of young people who continue to wear this one. So this one, for reasons we'll discuss, seems to have escaped the old lady perfume trope that happened with Chanel number 5. This week's research was fun. Next week's episode is gonna make you angry and wanna throw Molotov cocktails. There's a ton of stuff out there on Shalimar. This is just a really quick, brief overview. I am sure we'll have a Shalimar 2.0 because there's definitely stuff I'm overlooking, and I love everything about this one. Trust me. So we're going to talk about Guerlain. Guerlain. I want to pronounce it like an American and be like Guerlain, but it's Guerlain. It's one of the oldest continuously operating perfume companies in the world. But Guerlain started 1828 with Pierre-Francois Pascal Guerlain. He opened up a perfume shop in Paris with his 2 sons, Almé and Gabriel. Because they were making perfume in France, Guerlain becomes close to French society, as one does when they're making something that appeals to the upper crust of society. Then in 1853, Pierre becomes the official perfumer of Emperor Napoleon, which I think is so interesting. Yeah.
Whoa, Napoleon's perfumer.
Napoleon's perfumer, and makes a fragrance specifically for him called Eau de Cologne Imperiale. He also goes on to create fragrances for Queen Victoria of England and Queen Isabella of Spain. So he's just like the hella royal perfumer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Guerlain.
This is what we aspire to be. Maybe not
Yeah.
royals.
Maybe not
I don't
royalty.
know. Yeah, maybe not royalty.
Keep the
Anyway, we take
rich.
it back. When Pierre dies in 1864, the two brothers split up the main focuses of the brand, with Amé taking over as perfumer and Gabriel doing the business side of the company. Amé does create some fragrances that have lasted throughout the course of time. One I really want to get my hands on so bad, and it's called Jicky, which was released in 1889.
Yes. I want to smell it too. I want to smell it so bad.
But this was the first fragrance to be marketed as a parfum rather than a cologne. Something I do want to touch upon is right now we see perfume and cologne being gender markers for fragrance, but that wasn't the case at the time, nor, strictly speaking, is it the same now. Oftentimes, perfume and cologne have to do with concentrations, not necessarily gender.
Right.
With Jicky, which I think is also interesting, is that people of all different genders were wearing Jicky, but there are tons and tons of famous people who wear Jicky and are known for wearing Jicky. And it's men, it's women. Nobody cares like what specific gender it was designed for, because it wasn't designed for any specific gender.
Love that.
Yeah, same.
That's how we roll.
Yeah, that's absolutely how we roll. So I feel like we're classics. According to the legend, Jicky was the nickname for Jacques Guerlain, who is the perfumer who makes Shalimar.
See.
Yeah, so it was like the nickname that Ame just decided to
That's cute.
name a perfume after his nephew. Jicky is described as featuring a top of bergamot and lavender, a heart of jasmine and rose, and a base of vanilla, tonka bean, and resins. It was just very vague with the resins. It just kind of said resins. Something that I found very interesting in my research for Shalimar, especially since we did Chanel number 5 months ago at this point, is at the time when I was doing the research for Chanel number 5, everything kept saying, oh, Chanel number 5 is this big perfume because it's not a Soliflor. But Jicky came out 30 years before Chanel number 5, but was also not a Soliflor. And it also has synthetic aspects to it, which is another thing that like Chanel number 5 is credited to. I think that's interesting is that people tend to overlook Jicky. So I was like, okay, now I need to hypothesize like why historians are saying giving all of this credit to Chanel number 5 and kind of like poo-pooing Jicky. But Jicky's been continuously made since 1889.
Why do you think that
You can
is?
still buy it today. I think Jicky gets overshadowed by Shalimar, and we'll talk about why later. But I think people just overlook it. They're not really thinking about it. I also think like Chanel number 5 was so famous in its own right. And I think that that's part of why it kind of overshadows Jicky, which was also had synthetic elements, also wasn't a Soliflor, also was doing all of these other things that Chanel number 5 gets credit for. It also created an aspect of abstract perfumery. So while other fragrances may have had synthetics or different components, but we're still trying to smell like rosewater or violets or jasmine, Jicky was not anywhere remotely near there and was completely its own scent. Guerlain is the son of Gabriel, who is the business guy, and becomes the third master perfumer in the family and arguably one of the most famous. In 1904, he creates Mouchoir de Monsieur, which translates to gentleman's handkerchief. Before we get into it, I am going to go over some fragrance descriptions for like 3 or 4 different fragrances, but I swear I'm leading us somewhere.
Okay.
So you're going to just have to listen to some fragrance descriptions, and then we're going to get into why I'm being this specific.
Okay.
So, gentleman's handkerchief, because I'm not going to try to pronounce that in French again, is lavender, bergamot, lemon verbena, neroli, tonka bean, jasmine, patchouli, cinnamon, and rose, with a base of vanilla, iris, amber, and oak moss. What's sticking out at you in that description?
The bergamot, they're mentioning bergamot a lot in the top notes. The vanilla is like a solid through line, it seems. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here's the next one. So the next one's called Après Lundi, which comes out in 1906, translates to After the Wave. Top notes are anise. Crazy Italian, so we say Sambuca. That was a bad joke. Cassia neroli, bergamot, and lemon. Middle notes are violet, orris, mimosa, carnation, sandalwood, ylang ylang, vetiver, rose, and jasmine. And base is iris, heliotrope, vanilla, musk, benzoin, styrax, and amber.
Oh, it's that vanilla again.
And amber,
And
and
amber.
iris,
And benzoin.
and rose, and jasmine, and bergamot, and lemon, and neroli. So
Okay.
we're repeating a ton of stuff all over again.
Right. We're just throwing a few extra things in there.
Yep. In 1912, it's L'Heure Bleu, which is the blue hour, which you mentioned in the episode of benzoin. Top notes are anise, neroli, coriander, bergamot, lemon, heliotrope, carnation, violet, cloves, neroli, ylang ylang, Bulgarian rose this time, jasmine, orchid, tuberose, iris, vanilla, benzoin, sandalwood, tonka bean, musk, and vetiver. Same fucking thing.
We're
Almost
seeing a lot
exactly.
of we're seeing a lot of notes.
Repeated. 19 is Mitsuko, which is also a fairly famous
That's a famous one.
fragrance.
Yep.
Bergamot, peach, rose, iris, clove, and jasmine. Base is vetiver, oak moss, labdanum. Mitsuko, once again, going beyond gender, was worn by a lot of young Hollywood starlets and stars like Charlie Chaplin, Ingrid Bergman, and Jean Harlow. All wore Mitsuko.
Yep, it's classic.
But between the names and the descriptions, besides the fact that they are all very similar, the name, like Mitsuko, leads us to what conclusion, B?
That it's giving Orientalism.
It's giving a lot of Orientalism.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a through line throughout Guerlain's early work, is
Of course.
co-opting
Yeah.
anything culturally from anywhere east of Western Europe. So this is where we get into Shalimar. It was released 100 years ago in 1925. So
Wow.
this is its century mark. There's a few different theories about the origins of Shalimar. One is that Jacques was playing around with ethyl vanillin and accidentally, which I put this in air quotes specifically, poured some into a bottle of Jicky. Which I also feel like, why do you have an open bottle of perfume just hanging around your office?
How do you accidentally do that?
How do you accidentally? But that's the legend of the origin.
I could see him wanting to recreate something or experimenting in the lab, and then maybe he used a little too much. But it fell into the open bottle of perfume. What?
Yes, it just happened to fall. Oh my god.
No happenstance.
Thing that could happen. But that's how we get Shalimar.
Okay.
Another theory is that because of this emphasis on everything east of France, Jacques has a fascination with Mumtaz Mahal, who was the wife of Emperor Shah Jahan, who commissioned the Taj Mahal and the Shalimar Gardens, which is why we get the name Shalimar. That being said, that is also part of the description when Guerlain launches the fragrance. So, more than 300 years ago, Shah Jahan succeeded the throne of his father Jahangir and became the third Mughal emperor of India. Jahan loved only one woman. Her name was Mumtaz Mahal. Some say he loved her unto madness, that she was not his wife, but his fever. Victories, empires, and riches were dust compared to her. In his eyes, she alone was the balm that made life bearable. When she died, Jahan's hair turned white. He would burst into tears at the mention of her name. In her memory, he built one of the world's greatest wonders, the Taj Mahal at Agra. But the Taj Mahal is only an empty monument. While Mumtaz was alive, Jahan created a series of gardens for her at Lahore. Gardens the like of which we have never seen before. He called them the Gardens of Shalimar, the Sanskrit word meaning abode of love. But once again, we're co-opting so much stuff. And we're making this fragrance that you are taking all of the credit for and all of the money for based off of a story from
That's
India.
not from your culture, honey.
Correct. The original bottle, which is gorgeous, was designed by Baccarat, which keeps coming up.
Of course.
All of these episodes.
Of course.
And it was considered to be an homage to the architectural designs of the Shalimar Gardens. I don't know how, but let's pretend that that's a thing.
Okay. Sure.
One report I read said Jacques Guerlain decided that the perfume should be called Shalimar, not Taj Mahal, because you see, Taj Mahal marks the end of a story, and this love story can never end.
It's eternal.
It's eternal, much like our love for Shalimar in pop culture dialogue. So, in the 1920s, while Chanel number 5 is being associated with upper crust of society, it's luxury, it's bougie, it's like your one little thing that helps you feel good, Shalimar finds a completely different niche. It becomes a favorite of flappers, who associate it with someone who's not afraid to be a little risque. And this perspective often coincides with the reviews of Shalimar. So I found a bunch of modern reviews. So we're going to read some together.
Cool. What's Luca Turin gotta say? Luca Turin's book, Perfumes, The A to Z Guide, written by Luca Turin and Tanya Sanchez, which I believe is his wife. He does a rating system of 1 out of, I believe it's 5. He gives Shalimar 5 stars. He says, I hadn't smelled Shalimar on my hand for years before sitting down to write this, and it was quite a shock to do so. The previous memory had faded to its amber vanillic dry down, that plush plum red velvet whiff that says Evening in Paris, as surely as catching a glimpse of the Eiffel Tower lit up for New Year's. Shalimar reminds me of those weird, garish paint schemes, all bold strokes and vivid colors, used on the World War I battleships to make them invisible from a distance. Up close, it is intensely woody smoky with huge animalic notes, sort of jicky wound up like a 7-day clock. From afar, it's vanillic amber with merely exceptional reach. Shalimar's effectiveness in the middle distance, like the range of a gun, tells you what sort of damage it's meant to inflict. It is not intended for the man who smells it too soon, arm in arm on the way to the taxi. Neither is it a proper boudoir fragrance, a sort of extended dessert. Instead, its uniquely sweet, penetrating tune is supposed to deftly command attention at a dinner party. Not so loud that you don't know where it's coming from, not so quiet as to be easily outgunned. Above all, on excellent terms with the food to come. Okay. Okay.
Have you smelled Shalimar?
Never smelled it.
It's so good. Oh my god, it really is so good. Honestly, I've been wearing it all day and it's fantastic. So, this review that I'm about to send you is actually from a perfumery specialist. So this is a reporter who reports primarily on just perfume.
Why we love wearing Shalimar. Imagine a silky pair of 1920s pajamas worn as day wear, or with heels to a cocktail party. To wear Shalimar is still the ultimate gesture of olfactive romance. Quite simply, it's a masterpiece that's effortlessly glam. And it's one of those perfumes that people will still be wearing and talking about in another 100 years, we reckon. Wow.
Now, something that Luca Torin mentioned that I think also goes with this review was also prevalent in so many different reviews. I had the chance to smell this today when I tried their new peach fragrance, which was a disappointment. The opening smells like an intense version of Chanel number 5, but don't let that fool you. The dry down is magic and could be one of the best fragrances I've ever smelled. Here is another review and see if you can see a theme with reviews.
First thing that comes to mind, both straight from the bottle and on skin, is an overwhelming baby wipe smell. Not very sexy. The dry down was a lot better for me, a heavy vanilla tinged incense. Seems like the opening is very intense. Some may find it unpalatable, but the dry down is what people are here for.
Correct. Here is another one that I really like. It's not meant to be smelled on test strips. It's meant to be worn. The opening can smell a bit medicinal, but it dries down to a glorious, sexy vanilla. One of my favorites on a woman. I think that this is a victim of the way that we buy fragrance now. It's like an awkward teenager that turns into a stunning woman. You need to give it a bit of time to develop.
Amen! Say it again. Say it again. I am so sick of these people that come up to my table and they'll spray it and they'll be like, no. And I'm like, you're not even letting it open. You're not letting the fragrance unfold. even if you are just testing it on paper, give it 5 to 10 minutes. Do a lap, come back.
I tell people that at fairs all of the time. Like, there's some fragrances that people just love from jumping.
Yeah,
Fine.
of course.
Right? But especially if someone's like on the fence about something, I always say, put it on yourself. Walk around this Ren fair, come back later. Like, I'm still gonna be here.
Right, I'll be
Have
here.
fun. See how it wears on you.
Yeah.
And so spoiler alert, but my summer limited edition is called Luna Park, and it gives boardwalk beach vibes. And I'm on, I think, the ninth different version of this one because it dries down great. But I know that all of my customers smell it once in a booth, and if it doesn't have that great on a test strip right out of the bottle quality, no one's gonna want it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to change the scent, even though, like, I really fucking like it. Like, I really like it once it dries down. But I do feel like I'm needing to reformulate the scent to appeal to modern perfume tastes and kind of like what the nature of perfumery kind of is now. And Shalimar just does not have that. And it's one of the things I kind of respect it for, is it's not trying to be perfect out of the gate. It's supposed to like meld with you and become your own scent.
Yeah. Wow. I love that a perfume like that has lasted for so long and will continue to do so, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Going back into pop culture, Shalimar is everywhere in pop culture. There's a list on Wikipedia that I thought was crazy because it's everything from in a Johnny Cash song to being in shows and movies in the 1970s to as recently being in like the fucking Nanny and on shows like Abbott Elementary. There's references to Shalimar. And it's not even just stuff like with Abbott Elementary that takes place in modern day. There's also like a reference to it in the hotel season of American Horror Story, the one with Lady Gaga, in case you care. But that one mentions Shalimar, but also it takes place in like the 50s, 60s. You get the idea that like we're still mentioning it now. It was also in like The Sopranos. It's in movies. There's tons and tons of references to Shalimar, and it's because it's been this continuously long-lasting, iconic fragrance. In 1994, the fourth generation of Guerlain, who's Jean-Paul Guerlain, sells the company to LVMH, but remains with the company as a perfumer. Not even the lead perfumer, which I thought was fucked up, until 2002. 1996, Guerlain releases Champs-Élysées, which is the first fragrance for Guerlain that was not created by Guerlain, and it's seen as cheapening the brand. So immediately people are like, fuck this. Absolutely not. In 2004, Guerlain issued Shalimar Light, which was made by a not Guerlain, Mathilde Laurent. However, Shalimar Light was taken off the market and replaced by Eau de Shalimar in 2008. This is where Chandler Burr comes in, because an article written by them said that Shalimar Light / Eau de Shalimar was a more modern take on the fragrance, stating that Eau de Shalimar is, at least for the first 20 minutes or so, a case study in how to modernize a scent, while the 1925 version is a darkly lush mystery, the slightly musky hallways of exotic hotels, which I feel like is such a visual. Like, you could totally picture that. 2008 comes out of the bottle with a by-the-book bright citrus top note that young perfumers are instructed to put in all of their commercial scents. You can actually smell the creative directors taking aim at the 15 to 29 market demographic.
I wish I had a frame of reference. Like, if I wish I could smell these. I know.
I'll bring this to you.
Lucky duck. Yes.
It's so good.
Give me a little
It's so
decant.
good. This is one of those ones that, like, people who know me IRL know that I would give people like the shirt off my back. It's very much a Leo thing. I don't I'll let you smell it, but I'm sure as fuck not parting. It's too good. It's too good for me to like get rid of it. It's I'm telling you, just go to like a Macy's and smell it. It's so good. Shalimar is preserved in the original 1925 formulation in the archive of the Osmotique. I think
Yes,
that's how you pronounce it.
the Osmotique, something like that. It's the perfume museum in France.
And it was donated by Jean-Paul Guerlain.
Very cool.
And as of 2017, Shalimar was Guerlain's second best-selling fragrance, behind La Petite Robe Noire, with approximately 108 bottles being sold every hour.
Question. Has anyone ever come up to your table asking you if you have anything like Shalimar? It's happened to me once.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was an older gentleman. He was like, I wear Shalimar every day. Do you have anything like it? I was like, I don't know what that smells like, so try this. He didn't buy anything.
I would say, since you have all of my fragrances, I would say that Sagan's Heart is a pretty decent combination of Chanel Number 5 and Shalimar.
Mm.
So if you know, because it is that very like Opoponax heavy kind of a fragrance. So it it does give kind of classic, since I'm now more mindful about saying old lady perfume since we interviewed Immortal Perfumes. It is a very classic fragrance, but also in a lot of the reviews and a lot of like the discourse about Shalimar, as I was researching this episode, so many young people were like, oh no, I love this shit. It is my signature scent and I will never wear anything other than it. So I think that this one, I think even more than Chanel Number 5, is just lasting power and will be iconic for years to come.
Wow. Incredible. Well, I do want to make a note real quick before we wrap up.
Bring it on.
If you like what you hear, if you want to support us, you can do so by checking out the show notes down below. You can buy our merch. You can support us by buying our perfumes.
And you can see us at a fair.
We'll be doing some fairs together coming up. It's going to be fun.
We are doing fairs together. Remember that next week is going to be our last episode before we take off for the summer. We will still be around and we'll probably get on recording to say some dumb shit to one another and record it and release it for you guys.
I'm excited. It's exciting that we're about to finish our first season.
I'm so excited too.
And then we're going to come back and it's going to be better than ever.
Let us know if you have any particular ingredients or perfumes that you would like us to cover. We are down to have this be more of a conversation and not just us speaking to you. Even though that's most of what podcasts are.
We're down to clown with the community.
It's a bunch of perfumey witches, and we love them.
Yes.
Because we thought we were the only two out there.
We exist. We're everywhere.
All right, we will see you guys in the next one.
Ciao!
Sillage and Sorcery is produced by B. Sampson and Melissa Sifjardóttir. Research conducted by B. Sampson and Melissa Sifjardóttir. It was written by Melissa Sifjardóttir and B. Sampson. Logo design was by B. Sampson, and it was edited, by Melissa Sifjardóttir. If you would like to check out links to our brands, where to find us, and all of that fun stuff, you can check us out on www.sillageandsorcery.com. You can also find the links to everything in our show notes below. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to see you in the next one. Love you. Bye. Have I told you my Myrrh story? And
No.
It actually involves Dakota.
What? No, tell me.
All right. So back when witch school was a thing during the pandemic, I was, trying to expand my witchy practices to things that I had not previously. And I am historically a stick incense kind of a bitch. So I was trying to move away from stick incense because it was talked about at great length in witch school. So I got myrrh, like the myrrh resin, and I got a charcoal, and I did the thing. And immediately it set off all of the smoke alarms in my house. And for those of you who do not know, I moved into my current house March 7th of 2020. So I moved in and then everything shut the fuck down. So I knew only one neighbor who met me on moving day, but all the other neighbors were locked in their house. So my first interaction with anybody in Connecticut, because I moved from Brooklyn, was the fire department coming to our house because I set all the smoke alarms off trying to make an offering to Hecate by putting myrrh on the coal or charcoal.
Yes, for those listening, if you are going to burn resin on charcoal discs, do any type of loose incense burning on charcoal, you probably want to do it in a well ventilated area. Have all of your windows open if you're doing it inside. It's better
Oh,
to
the
do it
windows were open.
outside. They
Just
were?
so we're clear, the windows were open.
How much did you
So
put on?
not as much as you think. My smoke alarms, we've fixed the issue, but my smoke alarms were just really, really sensitive.
Okay. Okay.
And it's like a photo from it going off. I think it was 10 times when I was blow drying my hair once. So like they're just really sensitive. And even though the windows were open, and there was one point I like put it on the window ledge to like make sure it wouldn't make the smoke detectors go up. It did again. But this time we like intercepted the alarm company from calling the fire department that time.
Oh my goodness. That